Down here in the bottom left-hand corner is our outliner window. Our outliner window contains all of the objects in our scene. Now you'll see down here I have the selection type set to visible layers. By default in Blender, this is set to all scenes, and this is usually what the regular default Blender install will look like. And to me, that's just kind of too much stuff. Under this setting type, it will display all of the objects in all of your layers, whether or not they're selected. So to keep things clean, I have this set to visible layers by default. So you'll notice over in our layers over here, quite a few different layers that we can choose from. If I select one of these random ones over here, you'll see there's no longer anything in the 3D viewport and nothing in the outliner. So if you'll notice these little dots far left of our layer selection here, you'll see down here there's a gray dot and down here there's a yellow dot. Any dot represents that there's an object within a layer. So if I select on the first layer there, you'll see that this cube is highlighted, and it's also highlighted over here in the outliner. And that means that the current highlighted selected object is in the scene with the yellow dot. This makes keeping an eye on the actual things we're working on and trying to get through a lot more doable. Next to each object in the outliner, we'll see these three different icons. We have an eye icon, a little mouse icon, and a render icon. Now you'll see that for the camera, I have the eye icon turned off. If I click on it, you'll see the physical camera pop up over here. Now, in the same way I can navigate the camera down here in the camera view, I can also just select the camera and then hit G to grab or R to rotate in the way I would any other object, and I can move it around in that way. But typically I keep the visibility of the camera turned off, as well as the lights, because it's just more clutter to my scene that I really don't need to see in my scene until I'm doing some kind of specific editing to either the lights or the camera. So I keep those check marked off. If we select our cube over here in our outliner, we see that the eye, the mouse, and the camera icon are all highlighted. The eye controls the visibility of the object in the scene. So if I click that off, we'll see the cube disappear. But if I click render button here, we'll see that the cube still shows up in the render, and that's because the little render icon is still highlighted. If we were to turn that off and click render, then we would not see anything. So if I hit escape to go back in the 3D view, and I click the visibility icon on, and I'll just turn on the render icon as well. Finally, the middle icon here, if we uncheck mark that, then we can no longer grab or select the object in the 3D view. So this is helpful when you've got a bunch of stuff in your scene and you don't want to be accidentally selecting something or moving it. So it locks it in place pretty much. Now this is done pretty much automatically when you turn off the visibility of the scene. So if you have the visibility of the scene turned off, you don't really need to worry about locking it. It kind of does both things. So I'll turn the visibility of that back on. The other really cool feature of the outliner is that we can select any object and just drag it into the scene to create duplicate of it. So you see I dragged cube out into the scene and it created this cube 0.001 duplicate. Double click that and rename it whatever, my second cube, whatever, and you'll see it jumps to the bottom because the outliner displays automatically in alphabetical order. But this is really neat because it allows us to very quickly make duplicates. So if I were to double right click over here and then add, let's say, a monkey, then you'll see Suzanne pops up in my outliner. I could then just drag that, and we can do that with anything we want. And of course, as in the last video I explained about parenting, we can then drag and drop any object on top of another object to parent it. So say I want this cube to move whenever this monkey moves. So I see in the outliner that the monkey I've selected is Suzanne 0.001, and this cube is my second cube. So if I dropped my second cube onto Suzanne 0.001, now I hit G to grab that, you'll see that the cube is now parented to the monkey head. We can reposition the size of the outliner by dragging this line right here. So we can then drag this line up so we have as much space as we need to work in our outliner.